The Raiders hired Chip Kelly to be the offensive coordinator, and I'll be real, could not be more excited. If you also love the hire, click that like button. Coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you the top 5 quarterbacks that the Raiders should pair with Chip in free agency. Raider Nation, what's going on? I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up here on today's show, I am going to tell you and rank the top 5 quarterbacks that the Silver and Black should give this guy right here, because let's face the facts. We've dealt with Josh McDaniels. We have dealt with Luke Getsy. Going out and getting a head coach of Pete Carroll is important, but the guy calling plays on the offensive side of the football, almost just as important, if not more important, I can make the argument for. But the big question is, who's the best quarterback to pair with Chip? I'm going to tell you all of that coming up here on today's show. If you're wondering, Mitch, why should I subscribe to the Raiders Report? Free videos every single day in the year 2025. I'm really going to try to get you guys almost 2 videos every day. Live shows for breaking news. I had my wedding dinner planned essentially with Alex on Sunday, and the breaking news kind of happened, but I still showed up, still pulled up. That's what commitment to excellence is all about, and you also got to hang out with Chuck for a little bit. Also a video that I'm going to do, because some of you might sit here and go, Mitch, I don't care about free agency. I want the Raiders to draft a QB. I want the Raiders to draft a QB too, and that's going to be a video that I'm going to be putting out on tomorrow's live show, so make sure you're tuned in. So here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to work from 5 all the way down to 1, and the person that is ranked 1 is the QB that I think is the best case scenario for the Raiders to pair with Chip Kelly. Let's go to number 5 here on the list. I'm going to start it off with Kirk Cousins, and you're going, wait a minute, Mitch, I thought this was free agents. Kirk Cousins on the Atlanta Falcons. You couldn't be more right, but you know what? Once in a while, I'm going to sneak through and do things the way that I want to be able to do them, because I'll be real, I think that Atlanta is going to be moving on from Kirk Cousins. And Cousins comes in, when you look at that report, that Atlanta is likely to release him this offseason, and they're willing to potentially eat $65 million in dead cap. You're going to see more NFL teams do this potentially after last season, the way the Broncos were so willing to move on from Russell Wilson, and then the following year, they were able to make the playoffs. I think that you're going to see Atlanta do that exact same thing. For a guy like Cousins, though, he has started 159 games in his career. He did have a career-high 16 interceptions, though, in 2024. And every single player that I go through here on the show, I'm going to tell you some stuff about them, and then I'm also going to say why it makes sense for the Raiders. When you look at Cousins' stats last season, 18 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, but we can remember when the Raiders played Atlanta on Monday Night Football. It wasn't the Kirk Cousins show, right? In fact, it was a pretty rough showing overall for the majority of the end of the season for number 18. The reason, though, while I'll sit up here and go, it could make some sense for the Raiders, is because I could see Cousins potentially taking a cheap 1-year prove-it deal. When I say cheap deal for Cousins, I'm thinking somewhere around that $15 to $20 million per year mark. Also, Cousins, can he be a good mentor for a young rookie quarterback? There were reports out there that he was not happy when the Falcons drafted Penix at number 8. This could be a little bit of a different situation. And you know, he might also have to realize, look himself in the mirror and go, well, if I want another opportunity to start in the NFL, I need to be able to also groom a young QB. And you can say what you want about Cousins. He is a great professional. Then, when I look at the best versions of Cousins, it involves play action. And Chip Kelly's going to want to run the football. They're going to want to spread you out. But that doesn't mean that we need a running quarterback only. Cousins comes in here at number 5, though, on my list. Now, this is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. And I want you to let me know if you're like, Mitch, what the hell is a pinned comment? It's the number 1 question I want you to answer on this video. And it's going to be the very top comment when you scroll down and look at it down below. Which free agent quarterback should the Raiders sign to pair with Chip Kelly? Let me know down below. You're about to get it with the YouTube ad break. Please give me your honest answer. Let's go to number 4 here. It's Geno Smith. This is not the person that I think is the most likely. This is not the person that I would pair. Quite frankly, the options at 1 and 2 are the route that I would go. And yet, again, we're looking at free agency, and you're right. Geno Smith is still on the Seattle Seahawks. There is a chance that he could be cut this offseason. I don't really think it's going to happen. To me, the more likely scenario is that he ends up getting traded. If Seattle moves on from Smith, whether it's cut or via trade pre-June 1st, they do save $31 million, and they're going to eat, I think it's like $13 million. But the fact that Geno has $0 million guaranteed on his contract, it's got to be something where if Seattle doesn't want to give him a brand new deal, then that's where I think a lot of these trade rumors are going to start to pop up. I did talk to some of our Seahawks guys here at Chat Sports. They said it was very unlikely, not impossible, that the Seahawks could cut him. But when you look at the numbers that Smith put up last season, I would say it's probably his worst season as a Seahawk. 70.4% completion percentage is good. The yards are good, but the touchdowns, interception, not quite what you're looking for. And if I'm Geno, I'm kind of sitting there going, maybe I want to go back with Pete Carroll, because before Geno Smith was paired up with Carroll, he was just a journeyman backup quarterback. So he played 4 seasons with Pete in Seattle. That's got to be an important factor. Smith also, to me, I do think would be a solid bridge quarterback for a year or two. That's not going to cost you a lot of money. Again, like I'm thinking probably somewhere in the realm of $20 to $25 million per year for Geno Smith, which might scare some people out there. But for a team that's got $92.5 million in salary cap, you could do a lot worse. The Seahawks also ran the football a ton. I know that this is a show that's only about Chip Kelly and the offense, but we also got to look at who the Raiders just brought in to be their offensive line coach, Pete Carroll's son, who also has got a lot of running experience and used to be the run game coordinator in Seattle when Geno Smith was, I would say, at his peak, throwing for 30 touchdowns. So when you add everything into it, also, Geno's not afraid to push the ball down the field. Chip Kelly's going to want to try to push the ball down the field. Maybe they look at it and they go, I need a veteran. I need a veteran that can help us get to where we're trying to go, and that's the ultimate goal, is to get to a Super Bowl, especially when you're playing in the AFC West. I got my top 3 coming up here in just a moment, and I'm going to be real with all y'all. The top 3 are just so clearly a top 3. If we were talking about tiers, it's Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith. They're in a tier. And then it is a huge tier gap, and then it's the top 3 options, which I would say are the most likely candidates to pair with Chip Kelly. Before I get into that, though, huge shout-out to our sponsor, Game Time. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I love using the Game Time app, and I think that everybody that watches the show will love it as well. Game Time is focused on bringing people together in 2025, and I know we got some Lakers fans here. I don't know about y'all. I would love to be able to go watch the Lakers, Luka. If you're trying to get that one, it might be a little bit pricey. You might have to download the Game Time app, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ChatSports for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code ChatSports for $20 off. Download Game Time today. If you're like, Mitch, what time is it? It's game time. So whether you're trying to go see a hockey game, maybe you want to go watch a basketball game, Raiders football games, I'm hoping, are a lot more entertaining in the new year. Maybe you're just looking for a ticket to the big game. Overall, if you're somebody where when you walk into a store, you go to the clearance rack. When you walk into a store, you're always looking for that best deal. When I'm shopping online, whether it's for Alex or honestly even myself, I'm going to look at the sales. I'm going to look at the deals because I want to make sure that I am getting a good price. If you have that exact same mentality, Game Time is here for you. Promo Chat Sports, $20 off. And if you don't know how to spell Chat Sports, it's ChatSports. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description of today's show. Huge shout out to Game Time for sponsoring the Raiders Report. Let's go to number 3 on my list here, free agent quarterbacks for Chip Kelly, and it's Russell Wilson. I think actually a lot of people expected Wilson to be a little bit higher up on this list, but I'm going to be real. I think by you going out and getting somebody like Chip Kelly, it almost makes the Russell Wilson to Raiders rumors a little bit less intriguing to me. Now, I know Schefter has reported it. Multiple people have reported that the Raiders are interested in Russ, and I think that's more of just Wilson won a Super Bowl with Pete Carroll, and as you can see right now, the Raiders are bringing in a lot of people that are close to Pete. Wilson has also started 199 career games. If Wilson's name wasn't Russell Wilson, and people could just look at the fact that a veteran quarterback that won a Super Bowl, that is a borderline Hall of Famer, played at $1.2 million, everybody would go, oh, that's an amazing dude. But because Wilson, let's be real, little bit of a cornball, right? People don't love the idea of bringing in Russ, and I know Raider fans especially. Probably the most unpopular quarterback that I'm going to talk about this offseason is, in fact, Wilson. But when you look at the numbers, he did have a decent season. 11 games played. I understand that the Steelers fell apart near the end of the year a little bit, but there was also a lot of drama. Like, we had some wide receiver drama this season. We know how much it can impact an offense. George Pickens might be an even bigger diva. Not even might. He's a bigger diva. Might be the biggest diva at the wide receiver position right now in the National Football League. But Wilson's not somebody that you're going to go out there and try to put up 40 points. You're going to go out there, be a game manager, try to get to 24-27, play solid defense, run the football, get play action. All of those things Russell Wilson could do. So why would Russ make sense with Chip, though? The biggest reasons why he makes sense for Chip is because he is paired with Pete Carroll. And that's me, like, being 100% honest with you. Like, if I were to look at my favorite things about Chip Kelly's offenses, and he can beat you in a whole bunch of different ways. He was able to show that he can win in college with a quarterback like Will Howard, really spread you out. Was able to show he could win many, many years ago with somebody like Marcus Mariota. I don't want people to think Chip Kelly means we're going out and getting a scrambling quarterback. What I want people to think about is what the Raiders are looking for. And if you're looking for something with Chip, it's got to make sense with Russell. To me, has got to be that mentor. Got to be somebody that, can be a succession plan. Because one of the things that I thought about when the Raiders hired Kelly, sitting here going, that could be the next head coach of the Raiders once Pete Carroll moves on. So the offensive dude that I'm going to bring in, I want Chip Kelly to have conversations with a bridge quarterback. And then if you bring in somebody like Russell Wilson, he would be a great mentor. He's a weirdo, but he is a psychopath when it comes to being prepared. And I want that psychopath preparedness to be able to rub off giggity on the young quarterback if Wilson's the bridge guy. So having a mobile quarterback who can throw the ball down the field does fit with Chip Kelly really well, but he is only number 3 on my list. Let's go to number 2 for the free agent quarterbacks for Chip Kelly, and he's also a Pittsburgh Steeler. When you look at some of the most recent reports coming out of Pittsburgh, it does look like the Steelers could potentially try to bring back Fields in. I'm not totally surprised. There was a point last season where he was 4-2 at the beginning of the year, and this football team was able to move the football. They were playing solid defense, and they were winning games. Fields also isn't going to cost much. Plus, I do think that he could potentially take another prove-it deal where 1 year, maybe 10, 1 year, maybe 11. And I don't know if he's going to get much more than that. But for a young quarterback who's got all the athletic ability in the world, is he able to put it together? That's the biggest question mark. Because, I look at Justin Fields and I go, that's a Ferrari with a bad driver. He's a Ferrari with maybe bad wheels on him. And I don't know what it's going to need. But when you look at Justin Fields, you have to look at the upside, and that's something that I'm looking at with Chip Kelly, the upside. Also, the 10 games that he played last season, we know that he can run the football. Hell, he might actually be the best runner of the football in the NFL right now. And I know Lamar Jackson is an alien. I know there's a lot of great runners of the football at the quarterback position. But Fields, to me, I don't know if anybody could truly run the rock the way Fields does at the consistency that he does. The problem with Justin is that he's got to be able to put it together. I also go back and I think of, why is Fields number 2 on this list? Why is Justin ahead of Russell Wilson? And some of the Raiders Report OGs are going to remember this, but you go hop in a time machine, let's call it 6 weeks to maybe 2 months ago. I started talking about Chip Kelly being a potential OC candidate for the Raiders because I knew he wanted to get back into the NFL. I also talked about Kelly potentially being an option at head coach because he wanted to get back into the NFL. And I think that that's one of the reasons why the Raiders went out and hired him. But when I was talking about Chip Kelly, I was also talking about Mike Vrabel, because when I was told everything that I was told about Chip, it was Mike Vrabel, it was Chip Kelly, Ohio State connection, and that there was also some intrigue around Fields. The fact that Chip Kelly is now a part of this regime, I got to sit back, and I did. And I went back, I looked at my notes, and one of the biggest notes that I had was Justin Fields was a quarterback that somebody told me Chip Kelly would be interested in working with. So if they already brought him in, and I was told that months ago, I got to sit here and say that I think there's a better chance that Fields is the Raiders quarterback than somebody like Russell Wilson. Champ Kelly, the Raiders assistant GM, also drafted Fields in Chicago, who's here right now, and they're going to keep Champ Kelly. He was already making some moves before Spytech, before Carroll were hired. But if there's one OC, and I mean this, if there's one OC that I think might be able to figure it out with Justin Fields, I think it's freaking Chip Kelly. And if I'm Justin Fields, I'm going to sit there and go, do I want to stay in Pittsburgh? And I get it. Pittsburgh, tough division. The Raiders are in a tough division. But if I'm Justin Fields, do I want to stay in Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith, or would I want to go play for Chip Kelly? I think I'd want to go play for Chip Kelly, Justin. Take a prove-it year. It could really, really benefit you. So what do you think right here is the better option? Russell Wilson or Justin Fields? I'm going to hit you guys with another YouTube ad break, and I'm going to give you my answer after that ad break. So if you could just push me full screen after it, perfect. Type RW for Russell Wilson or type JF for Justin Fields. To me, this is who I think the better option is. The better option for Chip Kelly, I'll say it is Justin Fields. One, I think Fields is going to be cheaper than Russell Wilson. For us this offseason, that's important. The offensive flexibility that you're going to be able to have is very intriguing to me. Fields, spread him out, let him run an offense similar to what he ran in Ohio State, because I actually think it's pretty similar to what Will Howard ran this past season, but then also having that ability to be able to run it, and they are going to run the football. There is not a better runner of the football in this regime. Then who knows? Maybe you could draft a Jackson Dart, have him learn underneath Fields. Maybe you draft a Jalen Milroe, have him learn underneath Justin Fields. I am going to go the Justin Fields route because I think that there is higher upside, and he's a younger quarterback. And if we're going to bring in somebody that's 74 years old and Pete and have a potential Chip Kelly take over for Pete Carroll, the most perfect thing that you could do is the quarterback that you bring in, you could keep for the long haul. Justin Fields is a long haul. Russell Wilson ain't long-term. Geno Smith ain't long-term. Kirk Cousins ain't long-term. Justin Fields is the longer-term answer compared to Wilson. However, he's not number one on my list. To me, the number one quarterback for Chip Kelly is Sam Darnold. And I believe that Darnold is the option that the Raiders are looking at because considering the fact, okay, of what this quarterback free agency room could look like, I will say Sam Darnold is the top free agent quarterback on the market. And with that being said, it still scares the absolute hell out of me bringing in Darnold because he did throw for 35 touchdowns last season. And that Vikings offense was clicking. They won 14 flipping games for the love of God. But Darnold has been somebody that's been linked to the Raiders this offseason by multiple people from ESPN, Jeremy Fowler including. In fact, I was talking to Fowler the other day, and he was really throwing out the name Darnold to the Raiders multiple times. But the reason why, if I was Sam Darnold, why I would find this to be interesting is because Chip Kelly, that offense is going to be intriguing. They're going to try to push the football down the field. They're going to try to spread you out. That's exactly what Darnold did this past season with the Minnesota Vikings in a year that he had a career year. 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. On top of that, though, the other reason why, if I was Darnold, I would be intrigued by it is because I look at my own career. And I would look at what I did this past season, but then also look at who the Raiders have in that organization. They have somebody like John Spytek. Spytek was somebody that was able to help get Baker Mayfield going, and now is, I think you make an argument, top 10 quarterback in the NFL. Look at also, Spytek was part of that Buccaneers regime that got Tom Brady down to Tampa Bay. They go out there and they win a Super Bowl. Pete Carroll has done a phenomenal job his entire career finding these quarterbacks, whether it is a Russell Wilson, whether it's somebody like a Geno Smith, and then getting them a big-time contract. If I'm Sam Darnold and I look at Tom Brady, Pete Carroll, John Spytek, I'm going, that's the team I want to go play for. And now you're also telling me I get to potentially work with Chip Kelly. You give Sam Darnold a 3-year type of deal, which you can get out of, let's say, on that final year. You draft a young quarterback. Darnold's going to be somebody that's great. The reports coming out of Minnesota was Darnold was such a good leader and such a good teammate to when he was in San Francisco, but also especially when he was sitting there in Minnesota when they just drafted J.J. McCarthy. If I'm Sam Darnold, I go, I understand that the Raiders could do exactly what Minnesota did to me. Take a quarterback at number 6 again. But I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm going to go to an organization I think is the best fit for me, and I think the best fit for Sam Darnold is Chip Kelly, and I think when you look at Chip Kelly's spread offense, Sam Darnold can go out there and execute it. He doesn't need to be a mobile quarterback, but when he needs to run, he can. And when you think about all the free agent quarterbacks this season, who do you think is the most like Will Howard? To me, I think the guy that's most like Will Howard is Sam Darnold, a quarterback that people don't think is all that special. And I don't think Will Howard's all that special. But Howard went out there, was able to execute an offense, and go out there and win a natty. To me, that's intriguing. That's why I have Sam Darnold here at number 1. So one more time here, my top 5 free agent quarterbacks. for Chip Kelly. If anybody wants to take a screenshot, you can disagree with me. Throw out some other names. I would greatly appreciate it. You can also hit me up on IG and Twitter. I am at Mitchell Renz 365, but a friendly reminder again, I know Kirk Cousins and Geno are on teams, but I also built this based on I think Kirk could be released, and I think Geno is not going to be a Seattle Seahawk next season. So in conclusion, Chip Kelly, great offensive mind, phenomenal hire here by the Raiders, and I do think that he's going to be able to work well with almost any quarterback. He's been able to win, and having that flexibility for a team that's got $92.3 million in salary cap, over 10 draft picks, and they're bringing in a lot of new faces, this is very, very important for the Raiders. Then also, Darnold, Fields, Wilson, Smith, to me are the top 4, but Darnold and Fields to me are the top 2 options. I'll also say that I think the hiring of Chip Kelly is not good news for Aiden O'Connell believers out there. He might still be on this roster, but I will continuously say that I could see the Raiders potentially moving on from AOC. And at the time that I'm recording this video, which is going to be something that we're going to have to look at, hiring Chip Kelly is important. But also finding the right quarterback coach is also important. And according to the news that just dropped right now, veteran assistant coach Greg Olson is heading back to the Raiders again as the quarterback coach for Pete Carroll. Greg Olson was somebody that I respected as a QB mind, but not somebody that I wanted as an OC before for the Raiders. So getting him back as a quarterback coach, I do think is a really good move here for the Las Vegas Raiders.